No, it's US Fan TV. Chris is just barely avoiding. He likes to say really offensive things right before the camera comes on. I push the button, I tell him to shut up, and then he says something insane every time. So, all right, we're here.
Do what I can.
It's Tuesday. This is US Fan TV. What is this in my ear now? I had some nonsense going on in my ear there. We're going to talk about things today. We're going to talk about the Gold Cup, of course. We're going to talk about the Salvador and what to expect from tomorrow's match in Philadelphia. Chris is going to give us his predicted lineup, and we are going to talk about those insane jersey numbers that some of our big stars are going to have to wear. Some of them kind of have a cool hidden meaning in them. So we'll talk about that. But first, we're going to talk about Christian Pulisic and his monster game today in China against AC Milan for Borussia Dortmund. But I should tell you, before we do that, this is US Fan TV. I am Pat, and he is Chris.
I am Chris. That is my name.
I know you've been
keeping up. What's my motherfucking name?
I know you've been keeping up with the friendlies in China like crazy, because that's what you do. But today there was actually a very cool thing. Christian Pulisic, depending on how you count it, he either had 2 assists or 3 assists. He had 2 like direct assists that you'd call assists, and he had 1 draw a penalty in the box situation where Aubameyang converted it. So he was involved in all 3 goals. They won 3-1, and that's, you know, we haven't seen our guy in a while.
I just want to say he pulled a Bedoya.
He did. If only somebody had converted for us. Aubameyang's a little better though at that than some.
When you're a $60 million, €60 million $60 million to $80 million euro striker versus a $2 million striker.
Yeah. But yeah, we haven't seen him play for Dortmund in a while. I know he played like a half in one of the other games, I believe. We haven't seen him play for us since Azteca, because he hasn't played in the Gold Cup. But it was just, awesome to see. I like him when he does these things against, in Europe against big European competition, even though this was Asia and a friendly. It still kind of felt big because it was AC Milan. When he does these sort of things, I get so excited every time. And it's I don't know, try not to hype him too much, but it's hard not to.
Well, the cool thing, I think, is that the fear was with a new coach, maybe he wouldn't be a starter come the new season. Now, granted, whatever, this is preseason. It's a game in China. Whatever. It doesn't necessarily mean that he's guaranteed that he's guaranteed in the 18, much less that he's guaranteed to start come the start of the Bundesliga. But it is certainly a promising thing to see when, effectively you're playing as man of the match, even in preseason. It does kind of mean something. They did have quality players out there. It wasn't like it was him and 10 scrubs, 10 second teamers or something. And he was the one guy that they trotted out as, oh, look, see, we didn't just leave all of our stars at home. He was playing with some good players, some starters as well, and still managed to show off. So that I think is a big thing. You have to hope that this continues and that this earns him his spot. This earns him some goodwill with the new coach.
Yeah, I mean it's not 2003 AC Milan. It's the current day mess, but they're still a big name. Like I said, I know it's China. I know it's a friendly, but they seem to take it seriously, and there's no way having that solid of a game can hurt him. That's the thing. So it can only help to make sure that he plays as much as possible this coming season, which is what we all want to see, because we're still amazed that we have a guy who's playing at that level in Europe. This is new to U.S. soccer fans. So, it's awesome. Awesome for him. And, he's 18, right? So he's only going to get better for like the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years.
10 years.
Yeah, it's just crazy to think about what could happen. Hunter, Dortmund fired their coach because he kind of had a falling out with management after the botched terrorist attack on them. He rightfully so didn't want to play 20 hours after that. And I think that that's where the disagreement started. Sandra, who will watch this later, will probably know more about this, but that's where the disagreement sort of started, and then it kind of escalated from there. He just didn't get along with the management anymore. So, but yes, TJ's got something there for you, Chris. Is this a deposition now?
I guess
you wouldn't wear that shirt to a deposition, though, would you? I mean, that's a bold choice if you're going to do a deposition.
When you want to bring freedom to a deposition, you wear this. I had to look up while I was reading this who Benson and Stabler were. I was like, I don't know what that means.
I don't either. What is it?
Thanks. It's Law and Order. Thanks, TJ.
Dum dum.
What the hell was I going to say? Oh, I was going to ask. So how many? What's the offer from China now for Pulisic to move there?
Oh God,
$400 billion.
I hate to even think about that. Oh.
He had one good game in China. Oh, that probably upped him by, I'm guessing, 15 million. And that's not even a joke.
But
that's just looking at the ridiculous salaries, the ridiculous offers they're making on players.
Think of this though, if PSG is going to pay $250 million for Neymar or whatever it is, what would China pay? And that bubble's got to burst soon. I mean, I know you're talking about a massive country. Not surprising. And you know, an emerging market, a league that could be a world powerhouse at some point, although they said that about us. And so obviously attracting stars there is important, but can you really pay that much over and over and over again? So, but yeah, so nice game for Pulisic. He will not be with us, obviously, for the Gold Cup. Some guys that will, however, Clint Dempsey, Josie Altidore, Jesse Gonzalez, Tim Howard, Darlington Nagbe, and who am I forgetting? Michael Bradley. And they're going to have weird numbers.
Certain bald man.
Yeah.
Michael Bradley.
Timmy is going to be 24, which is kind of cool because that was his Everton number. So because they can't take the numbers of the guys that left, and they can't shuffle the numbers. The numbers are locked. So the new guys, the new 6, have to go 24 through 29 was the rule. So Timmy's going to be 24. That's cool because it's his Everton number. That'll probably excite our guy Jack, who may want that jersey. 25, I believe, is Darlington Nagbe. 26 is Michael Bradley because 6 minus 2 equals 4. 27 is Josie because it's 10 more than 17. 28 is Deuce. This is the coolest one because it's the 2 that he wears for Seattle, the nickname Deuce, and the 8 that he wears for the national team. And then 29 is Jesse Gonzalez because he got last pick. But it'll be weird to see these guys in these numbers. The last time, I think most of these guys, except for Timmy, which he wears 12 sometimes when he's considered the number 2, the last time that the rest of these guys wore, especially Bradley, Josie, and
Deuce,
of course, the last time they wore different numbers was when Klinsmann decided everybody was going to get a different number, and he was going to take the names off the back of the jerseys during that little stretch. So it'll be weird. And I guess if you've ordered a $155 Gold Cup jersey with $30 customization and you ordered like Dempsey 8 or something, I guess you'll have something that'll never appear on the field. So maybe you're pissed about that. I don't know. But I don't know. Would you rather get their number that they wore for this tournament to keep it accurate, or would you rather their traditional number on that jersey?
I would go with the number they wore. Now, some of that's going to depend on how this tournament ends up. If we bomb out tomorrow, I'm not getting this jersey personalized for anybody. But you know, if say Acosta tears it up the rest of the way, like he suddenly gets his shit together, like having good players around him suddenly makes him look like the guy we've been thinking we're getting here, I might be pulling in a Costa 23 here in a couple weeks.
And we should say the guys who are going home, Guzan and Johnson, Alejandro Bedoya, Christian Roldan, and the two that pissed me off, Kellen Rowe and Dom Dwyer.
Those are the two that I think pissed everyone off. I saw, Christian commented on it too. Those are the two that I just don't get. Like, Dom scoring, Rowe probably our best player through the opening rounds. I mean, Bedoya had a pretty offensively had a pretty awesome game in the last one, but on the whole, like, look at the guy through the opening rounds who I thought altogether was our best offensive player. I think you got to say it's Kellen Rowe.
Yeah, for sure.
So it sucks that a kid is getting sent home. Now maybe Bruce is saying, I have a pretty good idea of where this kid fits, and so whatever. But still, for fringe players, I think the more time they get out there, the better for them. And I would rather see him playing.
Yeah, Bedoya, Trev just pointed this out, left because he had a baby. So congrats.
Yeah. I mean,
he obviously watches. Congrats, Ali. We're very excited for you and hope that the baby's doing well. So what I think that this is saying is, I think he got enough of a look from Rowe and Dwyer to know that he probably likes them, but he also knows that he probably doesn't like them more than Darlington Nagbe and Josie and Deuce. So if he didn't think they were going to play, maybe they're better off going back to their club teams. And I think there's a lot of negotiation too, like we talked about in the last show, where the MLS teams are not all that excited about getting rid of guys for the whole stretch. So even though they did take a little bit of time off, they didn't take enough time off, and it's always weird that these tournaments go on during the club season, but that's a different story. But yeah, I feel like I know that Dallas was pissed about Jesse Gonzalez, especially because he's probably not going to play based on Bruce's comments. But Bruce obviously felt it was important for him, having just finished his paperwork, to feel like he's a part of the team and just maybe get a look at him up close for a week and a half, whatever it's going to be. So, I'm surprised, some guys went home and other guys didn't. Obviously, with Bedoya, with Guzan, you kind of know why. Guzan wants to get things started with Atlanta, which makes sense, being his new team. Some of the other guys, like, I'm kind of shocked that Gyasi Zardes is still around, but he wasn't terrible, so maybe Bruce wants to see more of him, or maybe we won't see any of him. I don't know. You can give us your lineup predictions in a bit. But, Christian said Agudelo should have been sent home. I thought so too. I was not impressed at all.
I would have kept Dom Dwyer over Agudelo.
Yeah.
I mean, Agudelo's a different player. The thing is, Dwyer is a bit like Josie, and Josie's clearly the top pick there. So I can see where Bruce was probably taking Agudelo as just a different player. But Agudelo, I didn't think, for all the things that he kind of brings to the table that make him different than our other forward striker options, he didn't look great in the opening rounds. Now, I mean, having said that, nobody, I think, truly looked great in the opening rounds. One guy who I'm hoping to see tomorrow was probably the closest to an all-around good player in his one chance to play in the opening rounds.
You're speaking of Eric Lehigh?
That's not a...
I think you might be speaking of Eric Lehigh.
I am speaking of Eric Lehigh.
Downers Grove represent.
I do have a soft spot for Nottingham Forest.
I have a soft spot for the place I live. So I did tell my son, though, like, that guy's from here. And he's like, yeah, my son's 6. He's a huge soccer fan. He's like, really? And I'm like, but he played for this team, which is one of the rival teams of my son's team. And my son's face got, like, stone cold. He's like, I can't like him then. Like, he was legit pissed that this guy played for another team and not his team. He takes things a little too seriously, though, sometimes. Chris has a good story about playing FIFA against him.
Stupid bitch!
Yeah, maybe
He did yell "stupid bitch" after I got a penalty called on. Well, he got a penalty called on him. Slide tackling. I think it was messy.
He gets angry. It's entertaining. It could be a problem though sometimes, but what are you gonna do? All right. So should we unveil your projected lineup for tomorrow night against the Salvador?
Let's do this. Let's see what the Salvador is up for. And I will agree quickly, fucking 901. I actually think Canada is kind of shaping up to be the Cinderella story here as well. They're playing a lot better than I would have expected. I mean, I don't expect anything out of Canada. So Dwayne de Rosario, maybe. That's about it. Beyond that, I don't. I kind of view them like most of the rest of the world has viewed the U.S. until very, very recently. Like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Do you think that Taves and Crosby will start?
Maybe.
Who will be in goal? Corey Crawford.
Yes.
Carey Price.
Yeah, Dominic, I think you have a good shot of. I think Dempsey breaks the record before the tournament is over.
I think he'll break it tomorrow.
Will he do it tomorrow? I think a lot of people are leaning on it. I have two different lineups actually, and one is because I think he was so pissed off about coming out of that qualifier because he knew what was going to happen in Mexico City, that I think he's going to push to be in the starting lineup, even though I'm not sure he should be in this game because the way Bruce has really swapped lineups back and forth, I think you have to rest pretty well assured we can win this game tomorrow, no matter who we put out there. So, and that's even looking at kind of the piss poor way we've played at this point. So I could see where you rest him, you bring him on maybe in the 70th minute or something, because I'd rather see him play in the semifinal. But maybe Bruce is seeing it as, we've got a good chance of playing of winning the semifinal too. Why not play him here, get into the semifinal, worry about that at the time, and then maybe rest him, bring him on in that game, and then he can play in the final. But whatever, maybe all thinking too much ahead. So we'll start at the back. This is version 1. I'm going Howard in goal. I think we already know that's a lock. Bruce hasn't said so that I've seen, but he said enough that, come on.
I think he did say today.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. I don't see him starting Bill Hamid in this game. Jesse Gonzalez just got into camp. He all but said Gonzalez isn't going to play, period. So I'm calling for Howard. Villafaña on the left, I think we're going back to him because like we've said in the past, I think it's about getting him reps right now. Beasler and Gonzalez in the middle. I think right now they are our top 2 center backs, even though they haven't necessarily played like it. And our defense through the air and our offense using defenders has not been good. Against El Salvador, that won't be as big a problem. I mean, they're not as big, so we don't have to worry about that as much. On the right, I'm going Eric Lehigh. He has earned it.
Yes.
He deserves it. Put him out there, Bruce Arena.
But this is not what Bruce will do. He'll put Graham Zusi out there.
That's what I'm afraid of.
We want Lehigh. He will play Zusi.
I thought about putting Zusi in the lineup there in hopes that I will somehow jinx him and he will not get to play. But I'm going with what I hope here. Once again, Lehigh. On the left in midfield, I'm going. I guess I could see left and right switching here. So for this one, I'm going to say Nagby on the left, but I could see where when we get to the right, maybe they'll swap sides. Acosta and Bradley in the center. Again, I think this is about getting Acosta reps, and I think you want to see Acosta next to Bradley so you can measure him better again.
Yes, I think Acosta will be more effective against Bradley.
Oh, yeah.
Because Bradley's willing to get a little bit dirtier and win some balls, and that lets Acosta go forward a little bit more. So
on the right, I'm going Paul Arriola. To me, without Bedoya here, I think Arriola immediately steps in. I think he all but had replaced Bedoya until this tournament. He didn't start as well. Bedoya at least had a good game in the last game. I think if he was still here, he'd probably get a starting spot. But to me, this one fits Areola. Up top, I'm going Josie with Dempsey as the lead striker. Josie's the hold-up man. Clint is the finisher. I have trouble believing that will truly happen. I look at that lineup and I say, who kind of makes the play happen? Nagbe cuts into the middle, and you do have attacking outside backs. And frankly, again, don't play Zusi, play Lehigh, because he's a better attacking back as well. But, you've got attacking backs who can kind of overlap and fill some of that space when Nagbe, presumably, is the guy who cuts into the middle and becomes sort of the playmaker there. But hopefully with two guys up top, that should help Josie and should give Deuce the chance to either at least tie the record. I think he gets at least one tomorrow. I'm not sure he'll get two to set the new record, but anyway.
I could see either way going. With how the forwards would line up. I think you probably have it right because Josie is the better hold-up man, but Deuce is the better playmaker probably, so maybe you would want him a little more withdrawn, but I think maybe as a thank you to Deuce almost, as a make amends with Deuce, you put him all the way up and try to get him his 2 goals that he needs. So
I would rather see him in that role because, one, he is a good poacher in the box. But on top of it, he's never been – I mean, he's learned to work well with, Pulisic, but he's never really been – he's always needed kind of somebody to set him up as opposed to be the guy to truly set up others. So I don't see him necessarily being the playmaker there, even if maybe he could kind of fit in that role. I think when he gets the ball in that sort of advanced position where your number 10 or something player would receive the ball, he generally is looking to dribble. He's not looking to pass, or he's looking to dribble and shoot as opposed to dribble and set somebody else up. So I would rather see him as kind of the lone striker, the lead striker. Let Josie be the hold-up forward.
Yeah, Dominic, if you go pro, you have to remember us when you're rich and famous. And I will say this.
Yes, absolutely.
You did give me a good show idea, and this is one I've wanted to do for a while. Once things slow down and the Gold Cup's over, Dempsey or Landon, who is the best player of all time in U.S. soccer history?
I've got my answer. I'm not even sure it's the two of them, but if we're going to go with the two of them, I've got my answer.
Do you have a third for me? Well, who should we throw in?
I think there are a few you could throw in. I think Michael Bradley deserves it belongs in that talk. I think he unfairly is criticized. I think he's a bit like Landon in 2006, and that I think he takes an unfair amount of criticism. I think you could put Tab Ramos in there, and Claudio Reyna.
Yeah, Claudio is the most underrated player we've ever had.
Probably.
Claudio was excellent and was ahead of his time, I think, and doesn't get nearly the credit that he deserves in these.
I think he was unfortunately slow. I actually think that was part of the problem was, when he was truly kind of leading the team, when he was playing when he was number 10, but also kind of playing as that guy, when he was the playmaker there, he was playing against a bunch of guys who were like Donovan, Beasley, John O'Brien. They were all young and fast and, up and coming and things. And here he was, like he was sort of in a sense kind of like Michael Bradley, I guess, where it was like he played at an odd stage where like he was sort of the only guy in that age group still remaining with the team. Bradley, there are guys older than him and there are guys younger than him, but there's nobody kind of right at the same age. And he's within 3 years or something of Dempsey, so you can kind of I get it, but they'll probably work out in the same World Cup cycles. But no, he's more than that because Deuce is 35, so he's 6 years younger than him. Anyway, whatever.
Claudio, I heard a great story about.
You could always throw in Brad Friedel too, but I think
somebody did. I think that's a separate
argument. I think we stick to outfield players.
Short answer, I think if you're including their club career, I think Deuce is better. If you're talking about strictly the national team, I think maybe.
Well, if we're going to save this for a later topic,
yeah, I should. Here's my Claudio story though, and I think I heard this on Kyle Martino's podcast, which is pretty good. Claudio apparently had an offer to play for Barcelona B when he was like 18 or whatever, but at the time, that seemed insane. And so it seemed like the logical choice for him would be to go to college. Shows you how different the era was. But so Claudio could have been playing for Barcelona, but decided college is for me.
At least, I mean, back then, Barcelona wasn't quite the team they are now.
The thing is, too,
it would have been, it would have still been with, God damn it, the Dutch guy. When Claudio was 18, I bet that would have been while.
Cruyff?
Why am I? Yeah. While Cruyff was coaching Barcelona.
Would they have, I thought
he came in. He would have come in at what, like 88?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But the thing,
something like that.
Apparently, at the time,
I mean,
if you went to Europe, you were off the radar for a World Cup team. And so he wanted to play college soccer.
That's crazy, though. That's crazy.
So that he could be seen. It's insane. Yeah, it shows how backwards we were. We're correcting some of these things now, but yeah, that's crazy.
Well, we needed a dead fat man to create a tournament just for our college players to get some games.
True.
And then collect 10%.
He wasn't, to be fair, he wasn't dead at the time.
He also did not have an apartment for cats.
No, that all came later. Yeah.
Anyway, should we discuss my other lineup?
Yes.
It's pretty similar. I mean, I'll start with, it's pretty similar. I'll even say Howard and the defensive four, I'm sticking with it. I'm not going Zusi, even though I thought about, like I said, jinxing it. I've still got Acosta and Bradley. I do have Areola on the left and Nagby on the right this time. I've swapped them. I could see where
it'll go either way.
Side. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, they're both right-footed, so it's not like I'd say one absolutely has to play on the left and one absolutely has to play on the right. It may depend on how Bruce sees the defensive needs tomorrow. But then I have Corona playing in that 10 spot and Josie up top alone. With, of course, Deuce to probably come on for Corona, I assume, around the 70th minute or so. The reason I think this might happen is Corona's I mean, he's the one attacking player really on this roster, kind of that in a sense, that number 10. He's kind of the lone guy here. And Bruce has really tried to push that with this group. So I wonder if it'll still continue. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, here's the deal on going to college. Here's my
I don't necessarily disagree with you, Trev. It's not that I believe Corona should be there. I don't think he's shown it. I don't think he, by his play so far, deserves it. But I just kind of look at it as, if we put all five of our guys in tomorrow, are we playing them straight through? Because Bruce has shown no inclination to play all these guys 3 games in a row. And now he's committing 5 players, including one who is 35, to playing 3 games in a row. Yeah, assuming we make the final, and certainly that's the goal, right? Let's not
get ahead of ourselves here. We have the Salvador tomorrow, and they haven't been great. You never know. You never know in CONCACAF.
Yeah, the Salvador has not played well to this point, neither has the U.S. So, we'll see. I would think that, especially with our additions, we're going to control this game. I'm calling for probably 3-0. I mean, I'm going to go 2-0 because we just haven't played well enough. I don't know if these guys will immediately make the difference. So I'm going to go 2-0. All
right, I'm going to give you my score prediction in a minute. But first, I have to tell Dominic whether to go to college or not. Here's the deal. If you want to continue to develop your soccer career, and if you have a legitimate chance or a legitimate offer to play for a professional team, then don't, because you can always go to college when you're 24. You would have to pay for it then, but don't. If you're not quite that good, and if college is something you actually want to do, then go to college, and maybe that's a path for you. But the NCAA isn't a tremendous path toward it's not the best path to becoming the best soccer player you can be. It works for some people. There's some people on the team right now, like Jordan Morris, who went to college, but by and large, I would rather see guys go up through an academy like Kellen Acosta or somebody like that than go the college route. I think it makes for better players.
You get more playing time. I mean, it's not even just about getting paid, because it's not like you're going to make so much money starting off that it matters. The big difference is the amount of playing time, and that's why our professionals have a harder time getting started. Is the quality of play and the amount of actual playing time is so much less per NCAA rules. So you come out 4 years later, and even if you're only there 2 or 3 years later, in a sense, you're 2 or 3, maybe 4 years behind, because anybody who stayed out was playing like a professional. They were taking this as a job. And even as a student athlete, even as ridiculous as that term is, you are student first, at least according to the NCAA, whether you're truly taking your studies seriously or not. And so you're only allowed to practice certain hours. You're only allowed to play so many hours. You're only allowed so many times per week to get together with the team, at least during official activities. And that just limits your progression. Plus, then you're playing against, lesser competition, presumably. So you come out and you haven't advanced as much. And then now you're 20, 21, 22, trying to make up for it, as opposed to those guys who at 15 or 16 were starting to play professionally. 18, boom, they were with a professional team. And
here's one more thing too. I have 2 friends who played NCAA Division I soccer. Both of them got hurt, and that was the end of both of their careers.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You lose your scholarship, and that's it. If you're able to play for a academy team and they believe in you, they will pay you to get better, and you'll keep playing. That's not always the case, and every situation is different. For these guys, I'm sure.
Having said that, we also used to work with the cousin of the first American to play for Arsenal.
Right. And he got hurt.
He got hurt, and that was the end of his career.
Right. So Ricardo says he hopes for a game again between the USA and Mexico for a Confederation ticket. That was like the best thing to come out of the Gold Cup. I don't like the Gold Cup. I don't like, we've talked about it a million times. We don't need to talk about it right now. But that one weird game in Pasadena was pretty awesome, even though we lost. That felt like a big game. So even the Gold Cup final, even when it's the USA and Mexico, doesn't feel like a giant game to the level that that CONCACAF Cup game did. So,
well, because that CONCACAF Cup game was a one-off.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem with the problem, and this will get us back into why we don't like the Gold Cup, is because it's played every 2 years. You have another shot at winning something. When the whole purpose or the whole goal beyond the 5 minutes you got to raise a trophy, the whole goal of this is that you play into the next tournament. Well, when you have 2 chances, everybody else just has 1. Why do we have 2? It's stupid.
Yeah, nobody else does too. I mean, we hope that there's some sort of every 4 years Copa America, so that in every other year, every 4 years you're playing a Gold Cup, which would then have increased significance because it's the only one. And then 2 years later, you're playing in another Copa America, or whatever you want to call it, tournament where there's extra teams, like's been talked about with the South American teams, and then even bringing in some European teams, something like that. 2 years removed from a World Cup, just like the Euros, and that would be tremendous. So hopefully we can get something like that done, because Klinsmann was right about a lot of things, and he's definitely right that we need more competition in this area. And if we're taking away our right to play friendlies against European teams because we have to play more games against crap teams, then that's a problem too.
It does a few things for the U.S. I mean, one, it allows us to, in the short term, improve our abilities, because we have to against higher quality teams in just with the guys currently there. But on top of it, bringing in higher name, higher quality opponents brings in more people to watch, which brings in more people to play in the future, which brings in more people who will presumably then make the team long term. it improves everything. Playing against Martinique does nothing for us. Playing against El Salvador.
Here's the thing, though. There's a guy I was arguing with. I think he was from Martinique, but I was arguing about the Malouda situation with French Guiana, and he made me. I couldn't figure out why they did it, and his argument was they did it because they're trying to show that these teams should be able to play in FIFA tournaments, not just CONCACAF, but FIFA. And his argument was if they were allowed to, especially specifically Guadeloupe and Martinique, if they were allowed to play, France has so many players of Caribbean heritage that they would come play for those two island teams if they can't make the French national team. You would then have two teams that are good enough to suddenly beat us or beat Mexico.
Yeah.
If you've got guys like Lacazette and Thomas Lemar and how many other Arsenal targets can I name? Thierry Henry was of descent from both of the islands. So he obviously was, and a lot of these guys are good enough that they would play for straight up France, but there'd be some really good players suddenly injected into CONCACAF. So I think that would be awesome. But that's not going to happen unless they're allowed to play in FIFA, because these guys aren't going to go, oh, I want to play in a Gold Cup or a Caribbean Cup. No, they want to play in a World Cup. So they're not going to choose to play for Guadeloupe and Martinique unless the carrot is there that they get to play it in a World Cup, but they're not good enough to play for France. And so, but it's sort of like if Hawaii was really good at soccer. These are politically France. They're not like Puerto Rico, which is sort of the U.S. These are straight up France, as I understand it. So, but it'd be cool. It would increase the competition, and I think anything we can do to circle this argument back around, anything we can do to better CONCACAF and increase the competition is a good thing for the U.S. There we go. Yeah, Martinique would fair because it would create political problems. Well, if FIFA treats them as a separate nation, then you'd have to choose, I suppose. But I guess leaving a situation where people get to choose, like 100% of the people get to choose, is kind of bad too. I guess maybe you play where you're born, but again, depending on where you're born, you've got roots in both places. Most of those players would have a choice. So it would create a couple of monsters. But I don't care, especially with an expanded World Cup. They're not monsters that
don't exist already, though.
Yeah, with an expanded World Cup, yes. And with us having to play fewer European and South American friendlies, yes, let's do that. So let's do as many things as we can to be better. Because playing against crap doesn't make you better. That said, crap beats us more often than it should in CONCACAF. So that's why I don't take, like I said, I don't take El Salvador lightly. I don't take either Panama or Joel Campbell's Costa Rica lightly if we play them, either team in Dallas. And I definitely don't take Mexico or Jamaica lightly. I might still take Canada lightly, though. I think I'm going to take Canada lightly, but the other teams I'm not taking lightly.
No, Canada. Ricardo, historically, the U.S. doesn't participate in Copa America. It's because we don't take it seriously most of the time. Part of it is when it's happened, when we've gotten our invitation, so many times we've had other things that we were focused on. The Confederations Cup in 2009. What was before that? I can't even remember. So we've not really committed to it. So when they do give us an invitation, it's often not, we're not often their first choice. That's why they choose Mexico a lot of the time instead of us. But our point is, let Copa America be just a South American tournament. Let that be, let each conference have their own tournament, and then let North and South America have some kind of super Copa America.
It's the Super Copa. Let's call it that right now.
Sure.
We'll be the first spot. It'll be the USfanTV Super Copa.
I would love it.
How much could it possibly be to sponsor this tournament? We've got it, I'm sure.
We need to register the website.
If you guys can click on the ads a little bit more, maybe
probably already there.
Yeah, the Centenario was. I know that a lot of people, like, looking from the outside, were saying this is a crap tournament that doesn't normally exist. But to us, when we were here and we got to go to the games, it felt like a mini World Cup. It was awesome, and I want more of that.
To me, that's an okay tournament that realistically all it is a trophy at the end. That, okay, you won against half the world, we'll say. I mean, technically not even by number of FIFA nations, but you won against 2 of the continents on the world. Okay, great. But it's still got a lot of important teams involved. I mean, the Euros are only one conference, but it gets a lot of good teams involved, and so it's important. It's cool. It's fun to watch. Yeah, there's a lot of good play. You get to see that. Excuse me. With something like this.
You're gonna throw up.
Yeah. No, I just burped. Thank you very much. It's just I don't know. You get to experience some fantastic play, some fantastic players, and you get it on a more regular basis. And you have the the occasion of seeing games in more than one country. I mean, part of the thing we knock about the Gold Cup is it's always played in the U.S., and that's kind of necessary in much of North America because either the countries can't fit it or they're not safe.
That's pretty much it. And here's the thing: there's a third thing too, and it's money. Because when it's played in the U.S., you've got a bunch of rich people by world standards, and you've got 2 home teams.
Yeah.
There are enough Mexicans here that they create a home field advantage everywhere they go, including against us most of the time, unless we're doing our best to keep the Mexicans out like we did in Columbus. And by the way, the only time I want to keep the Mexicans out is of soccer stadiums when we're playing against each other in FIFA.
Yeah.
So other people can deal with building walls. I only want to keep them out of stadiums. But just in case that gets clipped and ever used in some like political ad or something, not advocating for keeping people out of this country who want to live here legally. But anyway, back to the point. You have 2 home teams. You have the U.S. and you have Mexico, and you have people from all around the world. Sometimes not enough to fill a stadium. The game in Dallas was, I forget who was playing, but it was really, really bad. So some of the crowds have been really piss poor, but you have immigrants from all around the world. And we saw that during the Copa America that, if you put the games in the right place, especially if it's a big enough game, if you're from Colombia or wherever, you're going to travel to go see your team. So that's the cool thing about putting it here. But if it's going to be a legit tournament, it can't be here every time. It'd be fun for us if it was, but it diminishes it. That's one of the problems with the Gold Cup. But I mean, you going to put it in Canada? You going to put it in Mexico? Probably not. So
no Canada.
But yeah, if it's a tournament that if it's a tournament that's played with South American teams, there are countries down there that can adequately host a tournament. So hopefully they would do it sometimes too.
And South America isn't that far away. Somebody said it's far away. It's not much farther away than Europe, really. I mean, some of it depends on where you go in South America. But it's just harder to get to because there aren't as many flights because not as many people go to South America. But Brazil to like Miami is roughly the same as it's a little bit more, I guess, than New York to London, but not much.
Douglas, I think that was Chris.
Like Rio, not necessarily Brazil.
Chris has made the point that when we play World Cup qualifiers, especially during the European season, they never put them on the West Coast because it increases the flight time for the guys both ways. And so those games tend to be, Midwest or East Coast games. During the summer, you would see games on the West Coast sometimes. I am stunned that either Seattle or Portland got a game this cycle. I was so positive that at some point I was going to be going to Seattle for a U.S. match this year, and they never got one. So, because again, those last few are during the season, Orlando and New York get them. So, or New Jersey. I don't want to upset the New Jersey people. It's technically in New Jersey, not New York.
It's New York's brownfield.
It is. It's New York's nuclear wasteland. Trev says he lives in Seattle. You know what, though? I know we played there once. How badass would a U.S. World Cup qualifier be in Seattle?
Would be pretty cool.
It's a place everybody wants to
go to.
It's a place everybody wants to go. And, it's a big stadium that they know how to fill for an MLS game. It would be an outrageous atmosphere. I would love to do that. So let's do that, U.S. Soccer. I know you watch the show. Let's do that. They deserve a game. They deserve a game. I mean, Jacksonville's had a game. They don't deserve a game.
Jacksonville's had a couple games.
Yeah.
3 games in the last, 5-6 years?
DC still gets games and nobody goes. Let's give one to Seattle or Portland. I know the Seattle people will get upset if I give one to Portland, and I know that's a small stadium, but either place
crowd the last time.
Either place would be fine with me. Let's do it more often up in the Pacific Northwest. KC would be good. We have not done Aaron brings up KC. We have never gone to a game in Kansas City, but I think the next time there is one there, we probably would, because that's another great atmosphere place. So Nashville, they just did one. They did one 2 years ago. It's a fun time. I recommend going. But Nashville probably doesn't need one for a while. So, isn't Seattle up until recently the largest soccer-based stadium? I think it's the largest stadium in MLS, right? That they don't like. I mean, there's other stadiums that they don't sell the upper deck, but
I was gonna say Foxborough, they only sell with the lower bowl.
And that it may be slightly bigger as a stadium. They're both pretty close, but and as far as world attendance goes, the Sounders are always like 14th or 17th or something like that in average attendance around the world, which is it's the only team in MLS that touches that list. So it's pretty cool. They need one. Let's go play in Seattle. That's my pitch. Definitive locks for Russia as of right now. I feel like this needs to be its own podcast.
It probably does need to. Yeah, it probably does need to be its own show. Maybe next week. Maybe 2 weeks. Because
whenever we lose, we're going to need stuff to talk about. So we can do the Dempsey Landon debate, and we can do the who are your locks for Russia. But I mean, there's a handful of, unless they're hurt, 100% locks.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of them are the guys that came into this tournament late. And
you got at least 5 right there.
One of them plays for Dortmund. And there's probably some others too.
We've talked of 6 on the show today. I can think of, well, we've talked to 7, I think, on the show today. One was sent home from the team. One just joined. We'll just count the 5 of the 6 who came in. I think already are on the plane. Kazan. We talked about Pulisic. We can discuss the rest. On a later show when the tournament's over.
John Brooks, Bobby Wood, and Wando.
Jeff Cameron.
Wando. I'm confusing. The new people are going to think I'm serious. By the way, if you're watching the show for the first time, thank you. It's awesome to have new names commenting. Why doesn't Orlando get any? You are getting one in like 2 months, right? Is it the October game?
It's the October game. Yeah. September 1st is the game at Red Bull Arena. October 4th, maybe, is the game in Orlando. No, Pulisic's brother doesn't play for Dortmund. His cousin does.
His cousin, a goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Jermaine Jones is done. I think you are correct. Maybe not from a roster, but I don't think he starts anymore unless Kellen Acosta really starts to suck, and I don't see that from him. So
you've got
although we did jinx him.
Someone did bring up how long till Leggett is back. Leggett's return could complicate the issue with Acosta.
True.
because really until his foot got hurt, it looked like he might be the represent the end of Jermaine Jones too. So I think between the two of them, it's going to be sometime this fall, I think, when Leggett should be back on the field, which sucks because it's going to be like the very end of the MLS season probably. So he's going to have to work hard, probably get into the U.S. camp in January and really prove himself, and then have a big start to the MLS season. And then, you could probably talk about him making the World Cup roster.
He'll be back on the.
He certainly
on the radar.
belonged a year ago. Well, I mean, 6 months ago. Until that foot injury is healed, I think they were saying 9 months, which would put it about October. But you figure, I think that was recovery time. I don't know if there's any kind of delay in getting back into training. Really, I think he has to hope that the Galaxy make a playoff run.
Here's the problem. I think he can work his way back in, but I don't think Benny Feilhaber can. So I think that means that Benny and Leggett is dead before we even really got it off the ground.
Yeah.
If you've been watching the show long enough to remember Benny and Leggett.
Benny and Leggett.
Thank you. We thought we had something there, and then Benny stopped playing for the U.S. again.
We did talk about Rowe, Bob. We are not fans of him going home.
That is the single biggest, most confusing drop.
Yeah.
I get Dwyer to some extent.
Disappointing change.
If you don't think Dwyer's going to play over Josie and Deuce, then I get sending him home. I would rather see him there than Juan Agudelo, but I don't understand. Rowe did everything he needed to do to stay, unless there was some deal where they had to send him back to New England because of a previously worked out deal. I don't know, but he deserved to stay and he should be here. And I think he could make a case that he could start. I would like to have seen him battle for a spot over Nagbe. I think Nagbe's better still, but Rowe really, I think everybody would say he was the most impressive player from a guy that I'm like, really? Kellen Rowe? Is he good enough to be here? To, yes, he's now he's not a lock for the World Cup.
So now we're disappointed that he's not.
Yeah, he's not a lock for the World Cup, but he's penciled his name in. So we'll see.
If we win a World Cup, Robert, no, I will not get the 2002 Ronaldo haircut. I might get the 98 Tony Meola haircut, though. The top knot.
Oh, yeah.
Just grow it out.
Good dude, by the way. Did we talk about meeting Tony Meola on the show?
I don't think we have, but yeah, he was awesome.
Yeah, he just starts like shooting the shit with us.
I was kind of in awe, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, he's swearing, and he was an awesome guy. I always I was a little intimidated because I remember him being an intimidating kind of player, but he was really cool. So we met Brian McBride too at that game. Brian McBride was pleasant, very nice guy, but Tony Meola was like, he just wanted to talk.
Yeah. It
was pretty neat. Yeah,
I was being totally honest. I said, like, this is such an honor to me or something. I was like, that was the absolute truth. I was like, you have no idea that when I was like 13, I was cutting every article about the U.S. out of Sports Illustrated, and like every picture of us from the World Cup there, and like putting them up on my wall and things. From the 90 World Cup in Italy.
Ricardo reminds me that our guy Blanco scored. I don't know why. I don't know what game it was, but he came back and played one game for Club America the other day, and he scored a hell of a goal. He was also wearing number 100, which is just like, I want that jersey. I want a number 100 Blanco jersey. So the one Mexican player that we love on this show, Cuauhtemoc Blanco, probably the only sitting mayor to ever score a goal in Mexico's top flight. Good for him. Who is Tony Meola? Tony Meola was a legendary U.S. goalkeeper. Before they all
goalkeeper back in the 90s.
The last one with hair, really.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, technically at the time, when like Friedel and Keller came on,
Keller
like,
had
they
hair.
were all contemporaries. They still had hair.
Yeah, that's true.
I do have pictures of Keller with hair.
It's crazy.
From like 96 or something like that when I went to a practice. But if you guys go to the website, USfanTV.com, you can see there's an old story where I discuss the tattoo I will get when the U.S. wins.
Yeah, let's remind everyone
of the World Cup.
There's a lot of thought that goes into this.
It was sometime last fall, so I can't say when exactly I wrote the story, like October, November, something like that, I think maybe. But it is on the website. I give a vague view of what the what my planned tattoo will be. The trophy, the winning goal scorer, probably our logo, maybe the flag,
an eagle,
maybe an eagle soaring across. I haven't decided if it's going on my shoulder or on my chest, but absolutely, that's happening as soon as we take home a trophy.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even wait to pick a reputable tattoo artist. I would just go out immediately.
The first one.
And get a no regrets tattoo. So, yeah. Aaron's asking about good soccer podcasts. I like Grant Wall's. I like Alexi Lalas's when he does one. Kyle Martino's is actually very interesting. He started it recently. Love Men in Blazers. We're seeing Men in Blazers in like 2 weeks. They're going to be in Chicago. We have passes or whatever.
31st?
Yes, it's a Monday, so we're not missing.
Good. Okay.
We're seeing them live.
I do like the Total Soccer Show. I mean, for somebody who
those guys are cool.
They're kind of like us. It's not like they have a huge resume of like, oh yeah, no, they used to play for the U.S. or something. But they're informed and they know what they're talking about.
You guys look like 40. Chris is 40.
I am 40. Yeah.
He is a man. He is 40.
I'm a man. I'm 40.
Coolest hair out of current or past U.S. players. For an individual game, I'll say Jermaine Jones with the snow fro, but overall, I think it's got to be Alexi. Nobody touches
certainly coolest facial hair.
Yeah,
Breck Shea maybe for a while with some of his ridiculous shit, but that was more just kind of stupid. I always felt.
He's a guy I'm glad doesn't play for us anymore. I can't do it. Like I could do Kyle Beckerman if we're going to talk stoners, but not for me. All right, Mike Gundy, there you go. You're not too young. You know about I'm a man, I'm 40, Hunter. Although that you were very young when he said that. All right. This show's gone on a long time. Favorite USMNT moment. This is the last one we'll do. Landon scoring against Algeria.
Yeah.
That's the only time I
probably gotta be.
I had tears in my eyes. Yeah, that was it for me.
Had we beaten, I think it was Portugal. I think I said, I'm going to kiss every single person in this bar. Had that happened, that might have been my moment. But yeah, probably Algeria 2010.
Second would be 2002, Jeonju, South Korea, USA 2, Mexico 0. That was top notch. The Dempsey goal
second for me might be Beasley's goal in the
2005
Dos Acero in
with the streamers coming down early.
Yep. Again, if you want to read about our Dos Acero experiences, go to USfanTV.com.
Bob's got
it is up at the top. It says it says Dos Acero Tales.
Bob's got a good one. Beating Spain.
That was an awesome game.
In the Confederations Cup.
I think I liked the Italy game more, but that was pretty impressive. That first half against Brazil was impressive.
Yep.
What are we talking about at this point?
I don't know. It's kind of devolved at this point.
At this point, we're just rambling.
We're just
talking with everybody.
We talked about Christian Pulisic's awesome game today. against AC Milan in China. We talked about who Chris thinks is going to make the team, the starting 11 for tomorrow against the Salvador. We talked about, I don't think I gave a score prediction, did I? I didn't. I will say 3-0, Deuce with a brace, and breaks the record. Fantasy Premier League. Our guy Jack invited us to play in his league, and since he is in England, that makes it that much cooler. So we're going to play in his league this year. So that'll be my first time playing. I played in the Men in Blazers Fantasy Premier League last year, and I abandoned my team. I didn't actually pay attention. So I'm going to try to pay attention this year. I play NFL Fantasy, and I don't even like it anymore, but I still play it because I feel obligated. But I should be playing EPL because it's my favorite league to watch, I suppose. Maybe the Bundesliga, but EPL would be, I watch it more. So that's what we'll do. So
sticky player Pulisic had a hell of a game today. Basically destroyed everyone on behalf of Dortmund. You should go look it up or look up the highlights.
2 assists and a drawn penalty. So kind of 3 assists. Dos
Cicero is not dead, Ricardo. You guys just won one. It's not dead.
It's on pause.
There are enough Dos Ciceros to go around.
It'll happen again. All right. This is USFanTV. The website's USFanTV.com. Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram are all USFanTV. Please go follow and like and do all that stuff there. We do not have Snapchat because we hate Snapchat. We have Craigslist, but you have to know a super secret code to find us on there.
Apparently, Snapchat now has some dancing hot dog thing. I've heard this is ridiculous. It sounds stupid as hell to me. It makes me hate Snapchat more. I actually got kind of angry. My girlfriend wanted me to go study this tonight so I would know what I was complaining about. I was like, I don't even want to do it. I think I can already bitch about it. It's all right.
Holden, you should do a Tinder for us. We do not have Tinder. We do have YouTube, but you know that because you're watching this right now at this very moment. Subscribe if you haven't. We are almost to 500 subscribers. I set a goal. I didn't tell Chris, but he's going to go along with it because he just will, that we should be at 500 subscribers by the end of the Gold Cup. I think that's realistic. We are almost there. Let's make it happen, guys. So tell your friends to subscribe. Start new accounts and subscribe with those. We don't care. We love you. Almost to 500.
We could have TJ on anytime. We just haven't let him know ahead of time lately. We'll get him back on, Christian.
There's certain topics where you want to have TJ on. So like for me, it's when I know he's going to disagree with Chris. Because then I don't even have to talk. I just sit back and enjoy. When TJ gets fired up, that's what we like. Trev says we should be at 100,000 by the end of the Gold Cup. Hey.
I'm all for it. Bring your friends, bring your family, bring your moms, bring your sisters, bring your dads, bring your brothers, bring your friends.
Whatever.
Other people you haven't mentioned. I don't know. Relatives of some kind. Distant cousins.
All right. Slevin says 5-0. Zach says 6-0. I don't know.
I'm not ready to give that kind of support. The team just hasn't been that strong yet. Now, granted, half the starting lineup should be new tomorrow night. Hell, based on the way Bruce has been doing this, it could be a full different 11 tomorrow night. But there just hasn't been enough cohesion yet. Now, there should be a difference in that with some of the new additions or some of the old additions. But I'm not willing to say that the team's going to have it together yet. I think it's going to take at least a game, even if we do turn everything around in this tournament. I think it could still be the semifinal before that truly happens. It'll at least take, I'm going to say, the first 20, 30 minutes, maybe the first half, to truly take over this game.
Christian says, you know what I mean by 7-0. I do remember a 7-0 score that made me happy. All right, Chris, do you have any final words?
No, you are done.
All right, Ricardo says USA 5, El Salvador 0. Let's hope so. We'll see you tomorrow night after the match. You're done.